So I thought I'd do a little video. Just arrived at the station in Hikkou, I think that's how it's pronounced, which is the town on the Chinese side of the Vietnamese border. So across from Lao Cai. Last night I did do a little brief video and arrived in a hotel because there was an issue with the internet. There was a massive issue with the internet, and I hadn't been properly to mainland China since 2012, which was Beijing and the Great Wall. And then 2 months ago I went to Guangzhou for a few days, but I had this global eSIM package that was already running from a previous country, like i.e. before I arrived in China, so I didn't have an issue there. Then I went to Hong Kong and Macau, and they have slightly different policies, so, and I didn't use the Wi-Fi again. But I arrived across the border last night and I had the SIM pre-downloaded, but it didn't work. And I'm usually, sometimes it's the case that the SIM doesn't work depending on what country you're in. But all of the troubleshooting maneuvers also failed. And I know, having had similar issues before, that if you don't do a certain number of things, it's probably not going to work. So yeah, it was a very kind of stressful scenario, as I explained in the other video. I say stressful, not really stressful, but you know, I hadn't even slept really the day before because I was staying in Sapa, which is the mountain region in the north of Vietnam, which is a super touristy place, and it had been raining for a week and the sun came up for 4 days, so I figured I would spend as much time outside as possible. And then yesterday, the day before yesterday night and the early morning of yesterday, I didn't get any sleep because someone in the guest house was snoring like I've never heard before. And in addition to that, there were these British guys just talking and smoking on the balcony all night, and I was so saturated with green tea and coffee, I just couldn't get to sleep. I actually took a mattress in the guest house down into the living room to try and get some kip, and I think I might have managed 2 hours. So then I got up at 6, did all the things I wanted to do, then had to rush to the main town because I wasn't situated in the main town, it was 10 k's out, and then from there get on another bus to Lao Cai, and then from Lao Cai cross the border, super easy on the Vietnamese side, and then when I got to the Chinese side it was also pretty easy. So I wasn't being able to find a pen for a bit to fill out the physical arrival card, and people pushing in front of me, as is expected. Everything went pretty smoothly, and then when I got to the other side, I had Google Maps downloaded. I know Google Maps or Google products aren't really used in China, nor are they efficient, which is why you see major tourist sites on Google contributions, Google Map reviews with like no reviews because no one uses it. But I forgot to download the alternative before I entered China. My eSIM didn't work. The maps were so, like, not just inaccurate, but so wrong that actually the town was situated in the river itself on Google Maps. So trying to gauge roughly where I was, I ended up in the street, saw a hotel, decided to ask the receptionist. She didn't speak any English, of course, but communicating enough, she was kind enough to call the number on my booking, which I screenshot of, and then with that booking, with that call, the hotel owner directed her to the address, and she figured she would just take me on the back of her moped, which is really nice. So I got on the back of the moped, and she took me to a place which I never would have found. It wasn't super far away, but it wasn't close. And then, yeah, got into the hotel, and then for like 20 minutes, this guy, the receptionist, was like taking a picture of me, taking a picture of my passport like, numerous times. We had a language barrier, and obviously I couldn't communicate because my Google Map Translate, which I also had downloaded offline, still didn't work. So, yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare. Tried to connect to the Wi-Fi, couldn't connect to the Wi-Fi at all, so I was like, oh no, it's going to be a bit of an issue, because there's a few things I wanted to do, and obviously a few things that you want to do in China. That you need VPN access for. So there's so many tunnels here, by the way. I'm going to Kunming now, the biggest city northbound from the northern Chinese border. It's like 9 a.m. and the train's supposed to take 6 hours. Hence why it's allowed. There's so many tunnels because the landscape's not dissimilar to that in the Sapa region. It's very mountainous, very hilly. Anyway, so VPN, I managed to get it to work very briefly on the Wi-Fi, but it wasn't consistent. The only VPN that would work on Chinese Wi-Fi was Japan, through NordVPN, which I have pre-downloaded. Couldn't access any of the websites I wanted to use with the UK VPN, so I just figured I'll go to sleep, get 5 hours, because I had to get up at 7 because the train was 8:35. I had to get a taxi to the train station. Everything in the hotel was great, super clean, everything was efficient, everything worked, just as you'd expect, the stereotypes, and I only paid like £6 a night, which was also for 2 people. I mean, you could have 2 people, which is just amazing value. And so, yeah, got a taxi. I managed to go to the ATM as well, which was good because Bank of China has no fees. I assume most UK cards, but I use Chase at the moment. There's 0 fees, which is great. So I paid the taxi driver. The fare was like 11.5, which I actually had in change from when I was in Guangzhou as well. That's the fresh notes. But he was like, no, and he just took 10, and that was it. Super efficient. And then yeah, everything in the station worked perfectly. You don't actually use a ticket as such. You put your passport information on the when you book. So I booked through Trip.com, and then with the passport is essentially the ticket itself. So you never actually use a ticket. Again, super efficient. And now the plan is to go to Kunming, stay for 5 days. That's the only part of the trip that was annotated from the original, because the plan was to go to Russia, and they refused the visa, but I'd already booked the flight to Harbin in northern China, knowing that I had a 10-day transit, which was introduced in, I think, 17th of December 2024. And then I was going to cross the border to Vladivostok and take the Trans-Siberian to Moscow. But they cancelled the flight and I didn't get the visa, so it actually worked out well because I got a full refund on that. And instead of flying to Harbin, which would have been like -10 at least, I then cancelled my Trip.com train, which I also had booked to Xi'an, pre-cancellation, because reservations, you pay for them, but the tickets are only released 2 weeks before generally the departure. So if you cancel within that period, you get a full refund, at least on Trip.com. So the only essentially the only bit that I've added is the Kunming trip, which is just an extra 5 days in China, which is great because you only get 30 days on a standard visa. So I go to Xi'an afterwards, and then see the Terracotta Warriors, and then Xi'an to Guangwan, where there's some cave dwellings, and then Chengdu, and then from Chengdu I'm going to go to Central Asia on the train. So that's the plan. Everything's been pre-booked. Everyone uses Trip.com, Booking.com. You can use it, but the prices are like twice as much. Trip.com has a complete monopoly over transport and accommodation in China, which is really good. So you prepay for everything, and it's totally efficient. So yeah, that's the plan thus far. I think the VPN. What I was going to say is another cool little thing. So years ago, when Trip.com was a small company, I made loads of Trip.com accounts because they have a tiered membership similar to Booking.com Genius, but even better, where originally you would have like a standard and a gold, so silver, gold, platinum, then it would go diamond, and then now it's diamond plus, and you get all these little perks with it. So originally you only had to make like a handful of bookings, as is the case with Booking.com, to unlock the various perks. One being 2 VIP lounges for free if you book a flight through trip on their diamond, plus you get 1 gigabyte eSIM for 3 days on your platinum. Diamond is at 5 gig for 3 days. Because I made so many accounts and I've obviously been travelling for a long time, I have all these VIP lounges for free, which is really good, and all of these eSIM packages. So though I use Redtigo primarily, which I think is the best eSIM company in the world, and then eSIM, I also get all of those packages for free. I don't pay for eSIMs. I haven't paid for mobile data for like 2 years. There's reasons for that, but that's another story. But I downloaded the Redtigo, but it didn't work until I woke up.
because I just left it basically on auto connects, hoping that miraculously it might get around to connecting, and it did indeed, which shows that it's not to do with the atypical troubleshoots. It's more to do with obviously the Chinese government and the firewall, as it's called, with respect to, I guess, foreign eSIMs and usage of VPNs and whatnot. It took like 5 hours to connect, but this works. And in addition to that, I managed to download every single free eSIM from all my Trip.com accounts. So now I have an abundance, and eSIM as well, which is another company I also downloaded, trying to see if it was an issue specifically with DirecTV or not. So now I have all these packages for the duration of the trip, which is great. So yeah, that's the gist. For the VPN, as I said, it's a little bit strange. For the Wi-Fi itself, I can't really use Wi-Fi unless I connect to the Japanese VPN, and it connected after a number of tries last night using the hotel Wi-Fi, and then when I disconnected, I couldn't reconnect at all. For the UK VPN, I'm able to connect on a double VPN. So Nord has a system where you essentially would connect through a third-party country, i.e. China to France, and then France to the UK. Because I found that I couldn't connect directly to the UK, although now on the train, having tried again, I can connect directly. So I think it's just a case of whatever the network is in China, and then also just spontaneity, just completely random hotluck. But I have to say, if you arrived without having such safeguards and such plans, it could be quite problematic, because obviously everything we use today is orientated around apps, fintech apps, especially for banking and such. So if you needed to say accept a verification notification for your bank when making a transaction, perhaps an ATM withdrawal, you'd be you'd be stuck essentially, which I almost had last night. But in the end, everything's worked out fine, and I'll end it here and hopefully try and upload this somehow through a Wi-Fi so as not to essentially flush away all my data. So another 5 hours until Kunming, and then I'll post more regular videos up after that.